You know how it is, you want to really get your head around something important, understand it properly, but,
Yeah.
well, the idea of wading through loads of reports and jargon, it just makes you want to switch off sometimes.
Oh, definitely. We get that.
And that's exactly why we're here. Today, we're tackling a really significant shift happening in Indian education, the rollout of the Holistic Progress Card, or HPC.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't your parents' old report card. It's a completely new way of looking at how students are developing. It's all driven by the National Education Policy of 2020.
Absolutely. And we're looking at a pretty comprehensive framework here.
Yeah.
It's, a well-structured plan.
Right.
It draws on the core ideas of NEP 2020, definitely,
Mm-hmm.
but also the expertise of NCERT, insights from NITI Aayog, even World Bank analyses,
Wow, okay.
and the government's own guidelines for making resources accessible, bilingual, all of that. So it's built on a really robust foundation.
Okay, so our goal today, let's keep it straightforward. Let's really dig into this Holistic Progress Card. What is it, fundamentally? Why this new approach now? We want to explore the key bits, how it's supposed to work across a student's whole school journey, and tackle some of those questions that are probably popping up for you.
Makes sense.
We really want to get the why behind it and, what impact it might actually have. So let's start there. What is the HPC exactly?
Well, the Holistic Progress Card, like the name suggests, it tries to give a 360-degree view of a student's growth. It goes way beyond just, listing marks from exams.
Okay.
Think of it more like a detailed snapshot. It covers academics, sure,
Mm.
but also how they're developing crucial skills, their character, their overall well-being.
So it's not just about who got the top marks. That feels like a pretty big change in thinking about success.
It's a fundamental change. Exactly. Traditional report cards, historically, they really hammered on exam performance, right?
Yeah, mostly.
The HPC, though, it brings in qualitative feedback from teachers. It encourages students to actually self-reflect on their learning.
Interesting.
And it even pulls in views from parents, sometimes even peers.
Peers too. Okay.
Yeah. The idea is really to recognize all the different talents students have and that, they grow in lots of different ways. This multi-source thing also helps kind of balance out any single person's bias.
Ah, right. So you get a more reliable picture than just one teacher's view.
Hopefully, yes. A more nuanced understanding.
Okay, so let's unpack the why then.
Yeah.
What's pushing this change towards the HPC?
Well, there's been this growing feeling, I think, among educators within the government, too, that we need a more complete and equitable way to assess students.
Right.
The old system, focusing mainly on exams, it just felt increasingly limited. Sometimes it didn't really show what a student was truly capable of overall.
Yeah, I can see that.
And the National Education Policy 2020, the NEP, it strongly pushed for these holistic, competency-based assessments, really shifting away from that exam-heavy model that, could end up just encouraging rote learning.
And the NEP 2020 document itself, it specifically mentions this kind of progress card.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
If you look at para 4.35 of the NEP, it explicitly recommends a multidimensional progress card. The goal stated is to bring out the uniqueness of each child.
Okay.
So the HPC is basically the practical application of that recommendation, and PARAKH is leading the charge on implementation.
PARAKH.
Yeah, it stands for Performance Assessment, Review, and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. Yeah. It operates under NCERT.
NCERT, right, National Council of Educational Research and Training.
That's the one.
So the basic goal is shifting from just, say, memorizing historical dates to maybe being able to analyze why something happened, like the causes and effects.
Exactly that. The focus moves from just recalling facts to showing you actually understand and can use the knowledge, plus developing those really important skills like critical thinking, problem solving.
Gotcha. Okay, so we've got a better handle on what the HPC is and why it's here. Now, what are its key features? What really makes it different?
Well, one of the biggest things is this evaluation across both scholastic and co-scholastic areas. Meaning, yes, you'll see how they're doing in math or science, but you'll also see how they're developing things like critical thinking, communication skills, empathy, physical fitness, art. It really tries to capture the whole child.
That does sound much broader than just subject grades. It recognizes that development is, well, multifaceted.
It is. It definitely moves past that one-size-fits-all idea by seeing the diverse talents students have. Another really key thing is how participatory it is.
How so?
It's not just teachers evaluating. Students are actually encouraged to do self-assessment, reflect on their own learning, and Like I mentioned, sometimes peer feedback comes into play too.
So the students themselves get a say in their evaluation. Yeah, that can be quite empowering.
It could be. And this focus on individual voices, it also connects to making the HPC inclusive and adaptive, appreciating learners in their own context, cultural, linguistic, socioeconomic.
So it's not rigid.
No, schools actually have flexibility to tailor the format a bit, as long as they stick to the core principles, holistic view, core competencies. This adaptability is pretty crucial for a country as diverse as India.
So really, the HPC isn't just a piece of paper. It's meant to be more of a dynamic record, capturing the breadth of a student's journey, celebrating achievements in different areas, offering real feedback.
That's the idea. Fostering that partnership between school and parents in nurturing the child's growth, rather than just delivering a verdict based on exams.
Right.
PARAKH's goal with the HPC is really to turn assessment into a tool for improvement, for growth, not just a final grade.
Okay, let's talk objectives then. What are the main goals the HPC initiative is trying to achieve?
Well, the big one, the umbrella goal, is that 360-degree development for every student. Academics, yes, but also skills, character, well-being. It's a much wider lens than just test scores.
Seeing the whole person.
Exactly. And making sure each student's unique talents get seen and nurtured. Another really vital objective is promoting competency-based learning.
Meaning tracking skills.
Yes. Tracking mastery of essential skills, critical thinking, problem-solving, creativity, instead of just how well they memorized facts. It encourages deeper understanding, applying knowledge. That fits right in with NEP 2020's philosophy.
And the feedback aspect, is that meant to be more useful for the students?
Absolutely. The aim is personalized, constructive feedback for each student. Teachers can use it to point out where students improved, but also where there are opportunities to grow more.
Helping them understand how to improve, not just what grade they got.
Precisely. That makes a huge difference. It shifts the focus from just judging past performance to actively guiding future learning.
Makes sense.
And it also encourages student agency, self-reflection. When students self-assess and set goals, they become more aware of how they learn, they take more ownership. That can really build self-awareness, confidence.
And parents, how does it aim to get them more involved?
It's specifically designed to boost parental engagement by giving them this broader view beyond just marks and by actively asking for their observations from home.
Oh, interesting. Home observations.
Yes, sometimes. It helps build a stronger, more collaborative partnership between the school and the family.
Okay. Now, the NEP 2020 brought in that new 5+3+3+4 school structure. How does the HPC change across these different stages?
Oh, that's crucial. The HPC is deliberately designed to be flexible, to adapt to each stage, foundational, preparatory, middle, and secondary. Because obviously the development goals and the best ways to assess change as kids grow.
Let's start at the beginning then. Foundational stage, Balvatica to grade 2, ages 3 to 8. What's the focus there?
At that early stage, it's all about play-based, activity-based learning, developing those really core early literacy and numeracy skills, plus socio-emotional skills. So the HPC is mostly observational descriptive.
Like checklists.
Checklists, rubrics, yeah. Teachers documenting progress in those key developmental areas through observation.
So less formal testing, more tracking engagement and development through activities.
Exactly, getting that holistic view of their early learning. Now, moving up to the preparatory stage grades 3 to 5, ages 8 to 11, what shifts happen then? Okay, preparatory. Learning gets a bit more structured, but the focus is still very much on discovery, engagement, experiential learning. The HPC starts to bring in subject-specific observations, language, math, science, art.
So you might see sections like language skills or numeracy skills.
Exactly. With maybe lists of specific competencies they're working on. Teachers assess how they're doing through various activities, and the HPC gives feedback on things like critical thinking, how well they're grasping concepts, life skills, values, still important.
And the format, still descriptive.
Probably more qualitative remarks from teachers, maybe some simple rating scales. And this stage is really important for catching any potential learning gaps early on.
Okay, so starting to get more subject-specific, but keeping that skills focus. What about middle stage? Grades 6 to 8, ages 11 to 14.
Middle stage is a bigger shift towards subject-oriented learning. Things get deeper. The HPC reflects this. It still tracks overall development, but with more academic focus. It's often structured by subject.
And within subjects?
You'll see key competencies linked to the National Curriculum Framework. For example, maybe experimental skills in science. There's a stronger emphasis on problem solving, more advanced cognitive skills.
Okay.
And interestingly, often there's a specific section on adolescent development life skills, values relevant for that age. Assessment includes tests, projects, presentations, extracurriculars.
So a mix.
A mix, yeah. The HPC tries to give a full picture by combining marks or grades with detailed teacher comments. So you might see a science grade, but also a note about how well they participated in lab work, for instance.
Providing context to the grade, highlighting specifics beyond the score. Makes sense. Now, secondary stage. Grades 9-12, ages 14-18, big transition time. How does the HPC adapt?
Yeah, secondary HPC is very much geared towards higher education, careers. Reflecting the NEP's emphasis on student choice, vocational exposure, it becomes more student-driven, more future-focused.
How so?
You'll often see elements of student self-reflection, their academic and co-curricular achievements, and some assessment of career readiness. Students might evaluate their own skills, time management, study habits, and articulate their aspirations, like career ideas or college plans.
So they're actively thinking about their future within the HPC.
Exactly. Professor Indrani Bhaduri from PARAKH highlighted this stage really focuses on helping students make informed choices, develop a vision. So the HPC might have sections for goals, needed skills,
Right.
maybe even preparedness for entrance exams, research skills. Teachers and counselors add their assessments and guidance. The HPC basically becomes a detailed portfolio.
More than just a transcript.
Much more. It adds those qualitative dimensions, making it useful for counseling, maybe even college applications.
It sounds like it really evolves into a very personalized, forward-looking document by the higher grades. Okay, so stepping back, looking across all these stages, what are the common threads, the key features of the HPC system and its platform?
Well, first is that multidimensional assessment assessing the whole child. Cognitive, emotional, social, physical, beyond just exam scores.
Right, holistic part.
Then there's the 360-degree feedback we talked about, input from teachers, students, peers, parents. That gives a richer, more balanced view.
That multi-source feedback does seem really valuable.
It really is. Another core feature is the competency-based tracking, focusing on skills and outcomes mastered, tracking proficiency levels, not just memorization, and the emphasis on qualitative feedback. The HPC is a portfolio. Teachers giving descriptive comments, highlighting achievements and growth areas. That can really build self-esteem.
Sounds much more constructive.
It aims to be. It's also participatory, student-centric, encouraging student voice through self-assessment goal setting, making them active partners. And it's designed to be inclusive and flexible, adaptable to different languages, local contexts, learning needs, including support for kids with special needs.
And the technology behind it.
The digital platform is key, accessible on different devices, personalized dashboards for teachers, parents, admins. Security and data privacy are paramount, adhering to Indian data guidelines.
Dashboards, okay.
And comprehensive bilingual, support English and Hindi now, potentially expandable, aligning with government directives. These dashboards let parents see progress easily, while teachers might see class trends.
It sounds like a really complex but well-thought-through system. Now, for schools, teachers actually implementing this, what kind of help is out there? What resources are available?
There's actually quite a bit of support. Things like an introductory video explaining the HPC, a practical how-to-fill video for teachers.
Step-by-step.
Step-by-step, yeah. And a detailed implementation guide in PDF from NCERT PARAKH. Plus, sample progress cards, like for the foundational stage, so people can see what it actually looks like.
Having samples must be super helpful.
Definitely. There are also key policy documents, like bits from NEP 2020 on assessment to give the why. For school leaders, there are recorded training webinars. And for parents, a bilingual PDF guide on how to read and understand the HPC.
It seems like they've tried to cover all the bases, all the different people involved.
They have. There's even a technology integration handbook for the IT folks, case studies from pilot schools, and a really detailed FAQ document addressing common questions.
FAQs are always good.
And importantly, most of these resources are bilingual, English and Hindi. The general advice is often. Teachers start with the how to fill video and the implementation guide. Parents, maybe the intro video and the parent guide PDF. School heads, implementation guide, and webinar recordings.
Sounds like a solid support structure. Okay, let's tackle some of those FAQs directly. I'm sure people have practical questions like, how is the HPC really different from the report cards we all grew up with?
Well, like we've been saying, it's that 360-degree, multidimensional view, academics and co-curricular growth. Traditional cards, mostly just exam scores.
Right.
HPC adds qualitative feedback, student self-assessment, parent-peer input sometimes. It captures a much wider range of skills and growth aspects beyond just test results. A more complete picture, really.
Okay, and why do we need this new system? We already have exams, traditional report cards.
Because traditional exams often only give a narrow snapshot. The HPC helps identify and support crucial areas. Exams just don't measure creativity, teamwork, empathy, critical thinking.
Stuff that's hard to test.
Exactly. Relying only on marks can miss these vital parts of development. The HPC aims for smarter insights to improve teaching, help each student based on their unique needs and strengths. It includes exam results, but adds much more context.
So is using the HPC mandatory now, or is it still optional for schools?
It's strongly encouraged by NEP 2020. Think of it as a recommended best practice. It's not yet, a national legal mandate. But CBSE and NCERT have issued guidelines, and lots of schools are already piloting it or adopting it. It's definitely seen as where things are heading, an important reform. Schools, jumping in early, are positioning themselves as leaders in holistic education.
Got it. Now, for teachers filling this out, is it going to be a huge extra workload? How does it actually work?
They'll mainly use the online HPC portal. There's a learning curve, naturally, but training and support are provided. It's designed to be user-friendly, integrate with normal classroom activities.
So not totally separate?
Hopefully not. The portal often has things like drop-down menus, checklists to make data entry easier. Many schools are trying to build it into weekly routines. And importantly, it might actually consolidate stuff teachers were tracking separately before. Feedback from pilots suggests that once teachers get the hang of it, it's manageable. Plus, there are usually offline options if internet is spotty.
And parents, how do they see their child's HPC?
Usually through a secure login provided by the school. Could be via the school website or a dedicated platform. Unique login details ensure privacy.
Okay. What if a student changes schools? Does the HPC data follow them?
Yes, that's a big plus of the digital format. It's portable. If the new school also uses the HPC system, the data can be securely transferred electronically.
And if the new school doesn't use it yet?
Even then, the digital record can still give the new teachers valuable background on the student's journey. NCERT and PARAKH are working on making this transfer smoother, like how transcripts move. For now, schools can usually export and securely share the data if requested.
Data privacy, huge concern. What's being done to keep all this sensitive HPC info secure?
Top priority. Access is strictly limited to teachers, student, age appropriately, parents, guardians, designated admin staff, all through secure, unique logins.
Right.
The platform uses strong encryption for data, both when it's sent and when it's stored. It follows strict Indian data security rules.
Yeah.
Admins usually only see aggregated anonymous data unless specifically authorized.
So parents only see their own kids' stuff?
Absolutely. And the system logs who accesses what and when, creating an audit trail. There are robust measures against unauthorized access.
That's good to hear. What about schools with, say, limited tech or shaky internet? Can they still manage the HPC?
They've tried to design it for that. It's web-based, needs minimal infrastructure, a device with basic internet. Schools can use existing computers, teachers might use their own laptops. It's optimized for lower bandwidth, too.
And if the internet is really bad?
There are often offline options record on paper, enter data later when connected. The government's also working on improving school internet access generally. And training and tech support are provided to help staff. Even schools in tougher spots have started implementing it by planning data entry time carefully.
So designed to be adaptable. Okay, what about traditional exams and grades? Do they still matter in the HPC world?
Yes, they still play a role. The HPC complements them, doesn't totally replace them. Regular exams, tests, those results get recorded in the HPC's academic progress section.
So grades are still there.
Grades are still part of it, especially in higher classes. But the HPC puts them in context alongside ongoing assessments, projects, participation, personal development. It shows strengths and growth areas related to competencies, not just the grade. Over time, maybe more emphasis on competencies, but for now, it includes both.
Right. Finally, looking down the road, what are the expected long-term benefits for students themselves?
Well, the hope is a more supportive, personalized, effective learning environment overall. Recognizing diverse talents should boost confidence, motivation.
Makes sense.
Getting students involved in self-assessment makes them more active learners. And crucially, the skills emphasize critical thinking, problem-solving, collaboration. Those are vital for their future, higher education or work.
So it gives a better picture of their real potential and readiness.
Exactly. A much more complete, nuanced picture for future challenges and opportunities.
This has been incredibly thorough, really insightful. If someone listening has more questions or needs help implementing the HPC, where should they go?
Several places. For national queries or platform tech issues, there's the HPC support cell at NCERT, PARAKH. They have an email at ncert.ansec.in and phone support during work hours.
Okay.
There's also a specific technical help desk email and a toll-free helpline for tech troubles. For school-specific stuff, parents and teachers should really talk to their school's own HPC coordinator first.
Right, the local expert.
Exactly. And for edtech companies wanting to partner, there's a specific email for that. Plus, usually an online message form on the official HPC resources for general questions or feedback.
And they use the feedback.
They emphasize that all feedback is valued and used for ongoing improvement. It's meant to be an evolving system.
Okay. So wrapping up our deep dive today, it really feels like the holistic progress card is a major positive shift for student assessment in India.
I think so.
It's moving towards something more comprehensive, competency-focused, personalized, really lining up with that NEP 2020 vision.
Exactly. The potential is there for a more complete understanding for parents, richer data for teachers to guide learning, and ultimately a real focus on the student's holistic development and well-being.
It definitely makes you think, doesn't it, how understanding potential beyond just marks might shape the future of education here. Redefining success, recognizing all the diverse talents kids have. If you're curious to learn more, definitely check out the official resources from NCERT and PARAKH, and maybe even think about how those ideas of holistic assessment might apply in your own learning, whatever your field. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.